Welcome to Live Smart. Good morning, all. Who will cry when you die? Part 3. Chapters 21 to 30. 21. Spend a day without your watch. Last fall, I did something I have not done for many years. I left my watch at home and spent an entire day without looking at the time. Rather than living by the clock and planning everything I was going to do that day, I simply lived for the moment and did whatever I felt like doing. I became a true human being rather than merely a human doing. Early in the morning, I went for a walk deep in the woods, one of my favorite things to do. With me, I carried an old paperback copy of Walden by the social philosopher Henry David Thoreau, a book I have come to love. After finding a beautiful place to sit and read, I experienced one of those moments of synchronicity where something perfect happens at just the right time. For me, it was randomly opening the book and finding the following paragraph in front of me. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear, nor did I wish to practice resignation, unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan, like as to put to rout all that was not life. I reflected on this great man's words and soaked up the miraculous beauty of the scene around me. The rest of the day was spent in a bookshop, watching Toy Story with my kids, relaxing with the family on our patio and listening to my favorite pieces of music. Nothing expensive. Nothing complicated. But completely fun. 22. Take more risks. I will make you this promise, on your deathbed, in the twilight of your life, it will not be all the risks you took that you will regret the most. Rather, what will fill your heart with the greatest amount of regret and sadness will be all those risks that you did not take, all those opportunities you did not seize, and all those fears you did not face. Remember that on the other side of fear lies freedom. And stay focused on the timeless success principle that says, life is nothing more than a game of numbers. The more risks you take, the more rewards you will receive. Or in the words of Sophocles, fortune is not on the side of the faint-hearted. To live your life to the fullest, start taking more risks and doing the things you fear. Get good at being uncomfortable and stop walking the path of least resistance. Sure, there is a greater chance you will stub your toes when you walk the road less traveled, but that is the only way you can get anywhere. As my wise mother always says, you cannot get to third base with 1 foot on second. Or as Andre Gide observed, one does not discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time. The real secret to a life of abundance is to stop spending your days searching for security and start spending your time pursuing opportunity. Sure, you will meet with your share of failures if you start living more deliberately and passionately. But failure is nothing more than learning how to win. Or as my dad observed one day, Robin, it's risky out on a limb. But that's where all the fruit is. As I wrote in an earlier lesson, life is all about choices. Deeply fulfilled and highly actualized people simply make wiser choices than others. You can choose to spend the rest of your days sitting on the shore of life in complete safety, or you can take some chances, dive deep into the water, and discover the pearls that lie waiting for the person of true courage. To keep me inspired and cantered on the fact that I must keep stretching my own personal boundaries as the days go by, I have posted the following words of Theodore Roosevelt in the study where I write. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumphs of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. 23. Live a Life. On being asked about the ups and downs of his career, movie star Kevin Costner responded with these words, "I'm living a life." I found this reply to be profound. Rather than spending his days judging the events and experiences of his life as either good or bad, he adopted a neutral stance and simply decided to accept them for what they are, a natural part of the path he is on. We all travel different roads to our ultimate destinations. For some of us, the path is rockier than for others. But no one reaches the end without facing some form of adversity. So rather fight it. Why not accept it as the way of life? Why not detach yourself from the outcomes and simply experience every circumstance that enters your life to the fullest? Feel the pain and savor the happiness. If you have never visited the valleys, the view from the mountaintop is not as breathtaking. Remember, there are no real failures in life, only results. There are no true tragedies, only lessons. And there really are no problems, only opportunities waiting to be recognized as solutions by the person of wisdom. 24. Learn from a good movie. I love going to the movies whenever I can. Often, I take my young daughter Bianca and my son Colby with me, and, while munching on popcorn, we enjoy the latest animated film that is heating up the box office. We always walk out with smiles on our faces along with the whole new characters we can pretend to be in our daily play sessions. When I am on the road for a speaking tour, I still try to find a few hours at the end of the day to slip into a theater in whatever city I may be in and watch a good movie. I find that films not only relax me but they serve to transport me to a different world and inspire me to keep thinking about the endless possibilities life holds. I guess movies bring out the dreamer in me. Recently, I saw an Italian movie called Life is Beautiful. Though it was subtitled, it kept me riveted from nearly 3 hours and moved me like no film I have seen in quite some time. Much of the story centers on a loving father and his relationship with his young son. Early on, the two are inseparable and share many great times. Suddenly, one afternoon, the two are taken away from their home and placed on a train bound from Auschwitz, the notorious Nazi concentration camp. The rest of the movie shows the incredible lengths the father goes to, not only to keep his son alive, but to actually keep him happy through their horrifying ordeal. Though the father ultimately sacrifices his own life at the end, Life is Beautiful is a powerful reminder that living is a gift and we must make the best of it, every day of our lives. A good movie can restore your perspective, reconnect you to the things you value most and keep you enthusiastic about all the things in your life. And as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. 25. Bless your money. If you ever get to London, England, visit Foyles, which is among the oldest bookstores in the city. I have found more gems by browsing along its dusty shelves than in any other bookshop I have visited around the world. Being a dedicated student of self-help literature myself, I generally gravitate to that section in the store. I always look for a little-known work that will offer me a few new insights on the art of living and help me improve the quality of my own life. And in Foyles, I always find one. A few years back, I found a book entitled Bring Out the Magic in Your Mind. It was written almost 30 years ago by a man named Al Koran, who who was then known as the finest mental magician in the world. In a chapter entitled The Secret of Wealth, he writes the following: "When you send your money out, remember always to bless it. Ask it to bless everybody that it touches, and command it to go out and feed the hungry and clothe the naked, and command it to come back to you 1,000,000-fold. Don't pass over this lightly. I am serious." Over the next few days, why not follow Al-Quran's advice and see what happens? When you pay for your groceries, silently bless all those who have helped bring this food to you, the farmers who have grown it, the delivery people who have carried it, and the store clerks who have stocked it. If you are writing a check for your children's education, why not give silent appreciation to all the teachers who are spending their days shaping the minds of your kids and to all the others who make their work possible? When you pull out a few bills to buy that magazine off the rack in a convenience store, bless the person who is toiling away behind the counter and hope the money adds value to the quality of his or her life. As that timeless truth says, the hand that gives is the hand that gathers. 26. Focus on the worthy. A while ago, a FedEx package arrived at my office. Inside was an envelope with a gold seal placed on the fold and my name carefully written on the front. I quickly opened it and began to read the letter within. It was from the CEO of a major corporation who had picked up my book Leadership Wisdom from the monk who sold his Ferrari at an airport while on his way to a business meeting in Europe. He said he was a lifelong student of leadership and was intrigued by the title, which had brought a smile to his face. This executive had been under tremendous pressure as a result of the overwhelming demands placed on him and was hoping to learn some ways to improve his leadership effectiveness so that he could spend more time on the things that really mattered, both in his business life and in his personal world. In his letter, he wrote, "As I read your story about this man whose life had become too complex and out of control, I began to connect with a part of myself that I had not connected with for many, many years. I began to think about the people in my organization who looked to me for guidance and inspiration. I began to think about my wife who had been begging me to take a vacation for the past 5 years. And I thought about my 3 children who had watched their father spend the finest years of their youth climbing the imaginary ladder of success. I consider myself a strong person, but as I continued to read your book, I began to sob, quietly at first and then uncontrollably, so much so that the flight attendant rushed over and politely asked if everything was all right." The CEO continued, "That moment was a wake-up call for me, an experience I will carry with me until the day that I die. I knew that I had to make some serious changes in the way that I was leading and in the way that I was living. So on that flight, sitting 35,000 feet above the world below, I promised myself that I would commit myself to eliminating the multitude of distractions in my life and concentrate on only the fundamentals, those few activities that really had the power to make a difference in the way I worked and lived. I promised to stop reading 6 newspapers a day, handling every piece of mail that appeared in my in-basket and accepting every dinner invitation that came my way. I even had the title of your chapter on personal effectiveness, which you aptly call Focus on the Worthy, made into a plaque that I keep on my desk to remind me that the person who tries to do everything ultimately achieves nothing. I cannot tell you how much better my life has become since I began to live by this simple philosophy. Thank you. Time is your most precious commodity, and yet most of us live our lives as if we have all the time in the world. The real secret to getting control of your life is to restore a sense of focus in your days. The real secret to getting things done is knowing what things need to be left undone. Once you start spending the hours of your days only on those high-leverage activities and priorities that will advance your life's mission and legacy, everything will change. Many of history's greatest thinkers have arrived at the same conclusion. The sage Confucius put it this way: the person who chases two rabbits catches neither, while the Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "Let thine occupations be few if thou wouldst lead a tranquil life." Management guru Peter Drucker made the point of wisdom in yet another way when he wrote, "There is nothing as useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." 27. Write thank you notes. The things that are easy to do are also the things that are easy not to do. The more the pace of our lives speed up, the greater the impact the simple gestures of life will have on those most deserving of them. And near the very top of my list of simple gestures that have profound consequences is the lost art of writing thank you notes. Everyone loves getting mail, it's a fact of human nature. We all have a deep-seated need to feel important. I truly love receiving letters from people who have read my books and used the lessons within them to make positive changes in their lives. Few things excite me as much as receiving a bag full of mail from men and women who have attended one of my seminars and seen their careers take off and their personal lives improve. And knowing how much joy I feel when I receive mail from others, I try my best to respond to every letter that comes across my desk with a thank you note of my own. Even in the case of the people I deal with on a daily basis, executives calling to book me for a speaking engagement, people who attend my personal coaching programs, members of the media requesting an interview, and business people calling me with new opportunities, I try to follow up on every encounter with a sincerely written thank you note. Sure, it takes time. Sure, there might be pressing things on my agenda. But few acts have the power to build and cement relationships like a heartfelt letter of thanks. It shows you care and that you are considerate and human. So this week, go out and buy a package of the blank thank you cards that are now available in bulk at your local office supply warehouse and start writing. You and all the people that you deal with will be glad you did. 28. Always carry a book with you. According to US News and World Report, over the course of your lifetime, you will spend 8 months opening junk mail, 2 years unsuccessfully returning phone calls, and 5 years standing in line. Given this startling fact, one of the simplest yet smartest time management strategies you can follow is to never go anywhere without a book under your arm. While others waiting in line are complaining, you will be growing and feeding your mind a rich diet of ideas found in great books. So long as you live, keep learning how to live, noted the Roman philosopher Seneca. Yet most people never read more than a handful of books after they complete their formal schooling. In these times of rapid change, ideas are the commodity of success. All it takes is one idea from the right book to reshape your character, or to transform your relationships, or to revolutionize your life. A good book can change the way you love, as the philosopher Henry David Thoreau observed in Walden. There are probably words addressed to our condition exactly, which, if we could really hear and understand, would be more salutary than the morning or the spring to our lives, and possibly put a new aspect on the face of things for us. How many a man has dated a new era of his life from the reading of a book? The book exists from us perchance, which will explain our miracles and reveal new ones. How high you will rise in your life will be determined not by how hard you work but by how well you think. As I say in my leadership speeches, the greatest leaders in this new economy will be the greatest thinkers. And the person you will be 5 years from now will come down to two primary influences: the people you associate with and the books you read. I often joke with my seminar audiences that I play Cinderella tennis. I try hard but I never quite make it to the ball. Yet when I play tennis with someone better than I am, something almost magical happens to my game. I make shots that I have never made before, gracefully floating through the air with an ease that would make even the best player blush. Reading good books creates much the same phenomenon. When you expose your mind to the thoughts of the greatest people who have walked this planet before you, your game improves, the depth of your thinking expands, and you rise to a whole new level of wisdom. Deep reading allows you to connect with the world's most creative, intelligent, and inspiring people 24 hours a day. Aristotle, Emerson, Seneca, Gandhi, Thoreau, Dorothea Brande, and many of the wisest women and men who grace our planet today are just waiting to share their knowledge with you through their books. Why wouldn't you seize such an opportunity as often as you could? If you have not read today, you have not really lived today. And knowing how to read but failing to do so puts you in exactly the same position as the person who cannot read but wants to. 29. Create a love account. Mother Teresa once said, "There are no great acts. There are only small acts done with great love." What small acts done with great love? What small acts can you do today to deepen the bonds between you and the people you value the most? What random acts of kindness and senseless acts of duty can you offer to someone in an effort to make his or her day just a little better? The irony of being more compassionate is that the very act of giving to others make you feel better as well. To practice being more loving, create a love account. Each day, make a few deposits in this very special reserve by doing something small to add joy to the life of someone around you. Buying your partner fresh-cut flowers for no reason at all, sending your best friend a copy of your favorite book, or taking the time to tell your children in no uncertain terms how you feel about them are all good places to start. If there is one thing that I have learned in life, it is that the little things are the big things. Those tiny, daily deposits into the love account will give you far more happiness than any amount of money in your bank account. As Emerson said so eloquently, "Without the rich heart, wealth is an ugly beggar." Or as Tolstoy wrote, "The means to gain happiness is to throw out for oneself like a spider in all directions an adhesive web of love, and to catch in all that comes." 30. Get behind people's eyeballs. One of the deepest of all the human hungers is the need to be understood, cherished, and honored. Yet, in the fast-paced days we live in, too many people believe that listening involves nothing more than waiting for the other person to stop talking. And to make matters worse, while that person is speaking, we are all too often using that time to formulate our own response, rather than empathizing with the point being made. Taking the time to truly understand another's point of view shows that you value what he has to say and care about him as a person. When you start getting behind the eyeballs of the person who is speaking and try to see the world from his perspective, you will connect with him deeply and build high, trust relationships that last. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason: to listen twice as much as we speak. And having the courtesy to be a better listener has another advantage. Since you are not doing all the talking, you are doing all the learning, gaining access to information you would have missed had you been engaged in the usual monologue. Here are a few practical tips to become better at the art of listening. Black diamond: if you are speaking and the person you are having a conversation with has not said something within the past 60 seconds, there is a good chance you have lost her and it's time to stop talking so much. Black diamond: resist the temptation to interrupt. Catch yourself just before you do so and pay more attention to the content of what the other person is saying to you. Black diamond: if appropriate, i.e., in a business setting, take notes. Few things more readily show the other person in a conversation that you genuinely wish to learn from what she has to say than pulling out a notepad and making notes while she speaks. Black diamond: after the other person makes her points, rather than immediately responding with your opinion, reflect on what you have just heard. Saying something such as, Just to make sure I understand you, are you saying, and doing so with complete sincerity will bring you much closer to the people you interact with every day of your life? Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.